This interview is for information only and should not be considered as investment advice or a recommendation to buy shares in the company featured. Welcome to this Stock Box interview. Andrew Bell, the CEO of Red Rock Resources, joins me today following an update from the DRC on your Luanshimba project. So what can you tell us, Andrew? What are the highlights?
Well, we have 80% of this project. It is not far from Lubumbashi, in the heart of the copper belt, and it is an area where a mine to the north is known for producing predominantly cobalt, where there is artisanal production of cobalt in the area. We've been through the various stages of geophysics and geochemistry there, and we've interpreted the structure, and we've got some maps showing structure as well by other people. And so we had arrived at the situation where we were highly confident that we were going to be, if we drilled this anticline, we were going to encounter copper and cobalt, and of course great interest in cobalt. The cobalt price is 5 times the copper price. And so we drilled. And in the oxide layer, in some places at sort of 19, 20 meters to about 30 meters, in some places at 50 meters, and in one at sort of 70 meters, we encountered this black heterogenite and other unconsolidated black ores, which are cobalt ores. And some XRF readings were taken, and we regard those as unofficial because XRF is not necessarily accurate. It is very accurate for some elements. It just so happens that one of the 2 peak responses, frequency responses for cobalt, is very similar to iron. And of course, iron is present everywhere and is a massive spike. And so it's easy to get the signals not being discriminated perfectly, and that can make your cobalt readings awry. Now, we're told that this XRF is actually very good, it's a new model, it doesn't do this sort of thing, but we're going to wait till we've got the results from the lab. But what I do think we were able to do from field observations and from the testing is confirm that we have significant cobalt present in the oxides. At the bottom of the holes, around 100 meters, 80 to 100 meters, we were encountering pyrite, which is of course an iron sulfide, and that makes us think we go a bit deeper. We would expect in these geologies to perhaps come across copper sulfides below there as well. So we're going to do a few deeper holes. But of the 11 holes so far drilled, 10 of them we had good cobalt copper intersections. And so the first batch of samples is going off to the lab in South Africa, but we're very, very encouraged.
So how many holes in total will you be drilling?
Well, we said the first phase would be 20, because if we drilled 20 and we were obviously getting nothing, then we would probably draw stumps and think about doing something else later. And what we also thought was the first 10 or 11 holes, we get the samples off quickly to South Africa and get results back. We know what we've got. We can then maybe make a decision to expand the program and carry on. What actually happened is the first batch of samples going from the site to where we're going to prep them to be sent off to South Africa, they got stopped and seized because the driver didn't have the right paperwork, saying this was a consignment of no economic value. And of course, they're spending a lot of time trying to prevent people smuggling valuable cargoes. I would say, that a lot of small Chinese traders who are doing that kind of thing. And so I understand why they would be, or have done in the past, understand why they'd be sensitive about it. And that paperwork has now been put in place. The geologist should have known perfectly well because he's done it before. But these things happen, at least the first time. So we're a little bit behind with the schedule, but we should be getting stuff off to the lab now, getting the results back. We may have to take a flyer and just say, well, we do a few more holes. But what we could do is, rather than expanding based on what we've done so far, we'll just say, okay, based on structure, we're going to put in 1 or 2 deeper holes and see what happens. And then by the time we've done that, we'll have the results back from the lab and and decide how far to expand or which area to infill holes on the copper cobalt. Because what we'd like to do is get very, very quickly to the stage where we can get a resource defined.
So you've said you've used the handheld XRF, and you've also sent some samples to the lab for assay. And you say you've got some copper cobalt oxide, is that right?
Yeah.
So what are these early results telling you then? Are they encouraging?
Oh, very encouraging. If you took those cobalt grades that were consistent with what we were seeing, and then consistent with the sampling we did, if you got them anywhere else in the world, you'd be jumping up and down and dancing. But you have to remember in Congo, it's difficult to get capital, which increases the cost of projects, therefore increases the hurdle, investment hurdle for proceeding with them. And there are various other sort of inefficiencies and difficulties along the way, so that a project, for example, a copper project, that anywhere else in the world would be an easy moneymaker, you surprisingly sometimes see them in the Congo actually not making money. And I never quite got to the bottom of why this is so, but I think the lack of available cheap capital from abroad is probably part of the picture. And so despite the fact and I think things are getting enormously better and improving, and more people are going there. And after all, the world does need cobalt, and if you want cobalt, then the place you have to go to get it is the Congo, which has more than half the world's cobalt. And so I'm reasonably optimistic, but we're going to take a step-by-step approach, and we're going to wait till we have the results back from the lab. But to me, I would say this is a discovery at this stage. We don't know yet that it's a commercial discovery, but my expectation is that if we carry on along the path that we've been on so far, it will eventually be a commercial discovery. Now we've got to get a resource.
So let's talk about the commercial discovery idea then. Now, cobalt is used a lot in batteries, and it's a battery element, and it's probably going to play a very key role in the EV revolution. Now, I know that manufacturers in that space are partnering directly with mining companies to source their raw materials. At what stage then do you start to have those commercial discussions with manufacturers in the EV vehicle space?
Well, 0.2 to 0.4% cobalt is equivalent of 1 to 2% copper, because the cobalt price is 5 times the price. Those, if we have evidence grades like that in the oxides, quite apart from what else is there, then we would expect to have interest in what we're doing. There's also quite a number of processing plants there, so one could supply raw material to one of them, take a profit, not have to be involved with all the processing and on-marketing. To reach the stage where we were big enough to get a partner from the industrial world, a car manufacturer or something, or battery manufacturer, something like that, dealing with us direct, that would be perfect. But we have this project. We have potentially another very really strong cobalt project, which we're working on and have to get one or two regulatory things out of the way. But we think we'll prevail and get that. And then we've been offered at least one other really good and high-grade project. Once we've got to the stage of having 2/3 good cobalt projects in the Congo, then I think we'll be in a remarkably stronger position. We can either do a deal whereby we utilize other people's capital to develop it, or we can sort of go ahead ourselves or create some new geometry like a sort of spin-off. But this, as a first step, this is enormously encouraging. And as I say, because we've been through this experience and we're doing things there, we do get to know about other opportunities that are around. I don't think many other people are in that space. And we have always, although we're looking for copper as well, we've always, for several years, we've been saying we really want to find cobalt. We want to get cobalt operations, production. And that puts us in a fairly small, select group. And I think we're getting there.
So is that the plan then, to build on the footprint as and when you see other opportunities? And you've mentioned that you're normally first to know. You're in the area. You know what's going on. You've got your ear to the ground. Can we expect to see some other projects in the portfolio soon?
Well, we have one which we really, which in a sense we already have, but we have to clean up some sort of shareholder disputes there, and I would say not really involving us because we've done everything we were meant to do, and then we have something that people have come to us and offered us, where on analysis those are very, very high copper grades, and these are Ekai. The research on it was done in 2004 by a Belgian geologist, now retired, living back in Belgium, but our geo in Congo knows him, and so we're going to double check all of that. I think that's probably something we could quite easily get involved with. We wouldn't have a majority, but we might be operator, and so we're going to try to advance that. But if we got 2 or 3 good cobalt projects, with a sort of at least one of them being really high grade, one sort of medium grade, and then this one which we've discovered ourselves probably being the lowest grade of the 3, but still stands up in its own right, then we'll really be in the battery metal cobalt market.
So the RNS mentioned that the progress was perhaps a little bit slower than you would have liked it to have been. Why was that? But the RNS also says you have a more powerful drill rig on site. So what can you tell us?
Well, we like this drilling company. It's Indian-run, local Indians, and it's been around for a while. And I got on quite well with them, and I spoke to them, and I thought they were hard-working, sincere people. They want to have a long-term relationship with us. There was a bit of give and take. When they visited it, there was some talk at that point of maybe to get the penetration, we needed a slightly more powerful rig. They told me they had one available. It was waiting for a seal from South Africa, but in the end, because of different people, in the end they produced the less powerful one and said that it was going to work. It became obvious to me within a day or two that it wasn't drilling enough meters a day, and we wanted to get it replaced. And they were saying, "Oh, it's the nature of the ground. Drillers always say that. It's difficult ground. There are cavities. It's unconsolidated. This and that." But after a few days, they tried changing the guy in charge. They changed the bit. They changed the hammer. Eventually, they changed the compressor. And after a week or two, they were forced to say, yes, I insisted, bring in the other rig. So they brought it in, and we paid a very small amount, actually, for mobilization, demobilization, because we said, right, they're going to try to say that it was the ground that was at fault, and therefore we should bear any extra cost from all of this. But I think the proof is going to be we get the other rig in, and it goes through everything like a knife through butter. And then we, instead of fighting about the mobilization costs at that stage, we fight about things at the end when it's clear we were right. And sure enough, the new rig came in. It's gone through the ground like a knife through butter, and we're getting the performance that we wanted. But we kept good relationship with the drillers through this, because it's very easy to fall out with the drillers. You have a basically adversarial relationship from the time they start drilling, and we didn't want to have a bad relationship with them because we want to use them long term. We think they're good. We think we can work with them, and so we've been careful that we develop that relationship as a key relationship, which I think it is, because that's really critical. It's key is to have good drillers and to have the right relationship with them and get things done efficiently. It's part of being a good explorer, which I think we are.
So how long does the current drill program have left to run? And you've mentioned that you've already got some core in assays for analysis. So when can the market expect to see some results from that and the completion of the drilling campaign?
Well, this is RC, so this is not going to be core, but it's being sent. I mean, we could have come out with the XRF results. I just don't trust them, and so we're going to go to the lab we're going to get something proper. As soon as we get stuff back from the lab, we'll be able to come out with something, and everything will then be registered on a map. People can see the size of what we have there, and I think people can then start looking at the thickness, the size, the grade, and can do their own calculations about how many contained tons of cobalt there might be. And that will be, high quality information, particularly if we get a resource declared.
And what would that then mean for Red Rock Resources?
Any success we have in any of these things, like exploration, is worth a multiple of our market capitalization. So any kind of success in our projects, and we're talking now about Kenya, we're talking about Congo, we're also talking about Australia, the listing of that, any kind of success has a major impact on us. And we're not there to drill things in any of these 3 locations where we don't think we know what we're going to find. We're not there to waste money. We're not there to have 1 hit out of 3. We're there to have 3 or 4 hits in those 3 countries. And so I think people can, we're going to continue to operate the business, not over-promotionally, coming up with sensible announcements backed by evidence, and we're going to go as fast as we can. And people should, I think, believe in us, because we have good people, we're doing good work, and we have good projects.
Okay, well, Andrew Bell, the CEO of Red Rock Resources, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to this Stockbox interview. For more information, interviews and videos, visit our website at stockboxmedia.com or give us a follow on Twitter by searching @StockboxMedia.